You're listening to the Multifamily Marketwatch for Washington State. Apartment owners who need to know, trust HFO, the leading source for multifamily industry news around the state, from Puget Sound to the Tri-Cities.
Welcome back to HFO's Multifamily Marketwatch update for Washington State. I'm your host, HFO broker Aaron Kirk Douglas. Here's some recent news you may have missed from around Washington State since our last podcast. Seattle continues its trend of rental housing providers leaving the market. Meanwhile, Seattle's population continues to boom despite some reports that residents are fleeing to the suburbs. An initiative petition may qualify one measure for the ballot this fall that would form another government housing agency. And the tax man in Pierce County says, don't panic, as some average property values increased by as much as 25% for 2022. The Multifamily Housing Association of Washington reports that data from Seattle's rental property registration database shows a gain of only 240 units in the city from January to June, with a loss of 313 rental properties during that time, mostly single-family residences. Those rental housing owners say they feel pushed out of the city by growing piles of laws that restrict the housing options. Washington's Office of Financial Management reports the state's population has grown by more than 158,000, or 1.3% since the 2020 census. That increase is largely due to migration. As of April 1st, the state's population is more than 7.8 million. The state added more than 46,000 housing units during that time, with approximately 60% of those in multifamily communities. King, Pierce, and Snohomish counties each grew by more than 1%. More than 2,300 new apartments have been recently completed or are planned or under construction around University Village, northeast of the University of Washington. Experts are wondering whether all those new units will result in an actual neighborhood being formed around that 24-acre collection of stores, restaurants, and parking lots. The Seattle Times says the collection of 10-plus new buildings will offer market-rate rentals and more than 1,600 new parking garage stalls. The average monthly rent for apartments within a quarter mile of that shopping center is $2,300 for all units and about $2,350 per month for units built since 2017. Additional apartment development is taking place west of the University of Washington, where several 40-story towers are rising. The Center Square reports that Initiative 135, a proposal that would create a social housing developer, might have collected enough signatures to appear on the November ballot. The developer would not be federally financed and would not be allowed to receive private donations or money from government until it is formally established. The House Our Neighbors Coalition, which filed the petition, has said it has collected the more than 26,000 signatures that would allow it on the ballot. The organization it is seeking to form would be permanently restricted from charging renters more than 30% of their income. Meanwhile, the Housing Development Consortium, another group, says Seattle does not need another governmental agency to build housing, and any new agency would just have to further split up the limited funding that's available. Pierce County home values jumped by 19% for the 2022 tax year, according to the assessor there. The increases are a startling average of $80,000 each. Values also rose an astounding 16% in 2021. Pierce County Assessor Mike Lonergan says the biggest price change was in the Gig Harbor Peninsula, which saw values jump by more than $170,000 to an average of $865,000. Tacoma's values increased 18.4%, or $77,000, near the county average, and now has an average residential value of $604,000. The assessor even had to put out a statement telling property owners not to panic because Washington State has a legal limitation on tax increases that will multiply the 2022 value of a property by the combined tax rates of its taxing districts. Amazon has announced it will provide $23 million for affordable housing in Seattle. The funds will be provided to help minority-led organizations build or preserve more than 500 units. The commitment is part of Amazon's $2 billion housing equity fund it launched in January of last year. So far, it has pledged $100 million for affordable housing near sound transit stations and $185 million to the King County Housing Authority to help buy affordable apartments in the region and keep rents low. The Tacoma News-Tribune reports that 28.4 acres of land originally planned to hold workforce housing, including 70 affordable homes, has been sold to a new developer. The original development could not be built because they could not find suitable investment partners. The new plan calls for a subdivision of 120 townhomes. Bloomberg News reports that big boxy apartment buildings are multiplying faster than ever across the U.S., although apartment completions are currently down because of a 2020 permitting slowdown. The number of new units authorized in multifamily buildings is running 37% higher. The number of apartments delivered in King, Pierce, and Snohomish County over the past 12 months exceeded 11,000. Meanwhile, in headlines from around the country, the Anchorage Daily News reports that Alaska employers are combating a severe labor shortage by building housing as the labor crunch has converged there. In the resort town of Girdwood, employees have been living in cars and tents in the woods because of the housing shortage. Some workers are staying in sheds and trailers. Recently, a cabin without plumbing rented for $1,100 a month, and a yurt without running water is also renting for the incredible price of $2,100. In Ohio, Governor Mike DeWine signed a measure to preempt multiple municipal ballot initiatives that would have instituted rent control there. Denver has instituted a mandatory inclusionary zoning policy, which the group Growing Homes Together believes will exacerbate the low supply of affordable housing. And in Colorado Springs, the city council is reviewing a proposal to reward developers for setting aside a majority of new units for affordable housing. In Austin, Texas, the city council has allocated $47 million to 4 new developments around the city near new public transit lines. New York's budget for 2023 will include an additional $5 billion for affordable housing, bringing its total housing budget to $22 billion. Multi-Housing News reports that most developers are currently facing delays in construction, with 83% reporting those delays due to permitting issues. Meanwhile, one housing success story is getting a lot of attention. Over the past 10 years, Houston, Texas has moved 25,000 people from the streets into homes of their own. The number of people deemed homeless in Houston has been cut by 63% since 2011. The city recently unveiled a plan that mixes federal, state, county, and city funds to cut the current homeless count in half. We can only hope that more cities will look to Houston's success story moving forward. Thanks for listening. We'll be back in 2 weeks with a new edition of Multifamily Marketwatch. And don't forget, you can stay up to date on multifamily news around the Pacific Northwest throughout the week by visiting or subscribing to the Northwest Apartment Investor blog, available on our website.
Our entire office specializes in multifamily real estate, making HFO the largest multifamily brokerage in the Pacific Northwest. Your success is our passion. Build your legacy with HFO. Call 206-705-5115 or visit our website at hfore.com for more information. HFO is an affiliate of the Global Real Estate Advisor Network.